Everyone, I'll call this Board of Aldermen meeting to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Bowman.
Present.
Alderman Bachman. Here. Alderman Reese.
Here.
Alderman Milner.
Present.
Alderman Dickerson.
Here.
Alderman Long.
Here.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Mayor Hassett.
Here, and we do have a quorum. Good evening, everyone. The first item we have tonight is I will open the floor for a public hearing on the 2017 tax levy. Anybody who would like to comment on this, now would be your opportunity. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Before we get to our public participation, Mr. Patterson, you had kind of a somewhat ceremonial matter for us tonight.
Yeah, as the board's probably aware, we did hire a new electric superintendent. We promoted from within. He's been with the city now about 2 years. He came to us from Milan, where he was over the electric system there. His name is Tim Scott, and he's here. If anyone would like to meet him. Come on, stand up.
Hello. All right. Now I need to call my lights go off. All right, well, congratulations.
Yes.
All right, at this time, I will open the floor to public participation. Anybody who has anything to bring before this board that is not on our already scheduled agenda, you may do so at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board.
Good evening.
I would like to visit momentarily with you, if I could, about what I think is a subdivision on Jefferson Parkway. I visited with City Administrator Welch, but I have concerns of the fact that that is one lot subdivision. The sewer line does not come to the property line as our subdivision ordinances require. Our subdivision ordinances, the ones that I have had to obey, requires all utilities go to the property line, including the streets. And I understand why the sewer line is back 50 foot, and that is fine. That 50 foot, they should escrow the money though for it to continue to the property line. The water line, to the far side of the property line, I see no valve, I see no bleed off on the end of it. The street, as of 3:30 today, is only about a third completed. The rest of it has weeds on it as high as your head. There has been no roadbed preparation for that street to go to the property line. It's my opinion that if we local people have got to obey those ordinances, the out-of-town folks need to obey them also. And I want to go on record, so this board will know that when that last thing is done out there on that job site, and they stop at the last traffic light in this town, and you see those taillights for the last time, that's the last time you're going to see any of those people, because that's going to be turned over to a management firm. And they're going to be completely innocent of everything. So I say that we need to enforce our ordinances. If that is not a subdivision, we need to understand why. I also question why they did not have and were not required to storm sewer and curb with a barrier curb Jefferson Parkway along the property line. We've been having to do that since 1972 in this town. I've done Twin Pines Road, I've done Wall Street, I've done Oakland Street, and many others. I've done fill-in lots in this town through the years, and I've had to curb and gutter just in front of those fill-in lots. We need to figure out a way that everybody complies to the ordinances. Any questions to me? If not, I thank you,
All right.
and I would like some type of reply.
We will be sure you get one.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John. Thank you, John.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening?
Good evening, Mayor.
Sure. Can you be sure to provide your name and address to the clerk?
Absolutely.
All
My
right.
name is Max Murray. I'm with Waste Corporation of Missouri, just out of town.
All right. Thank you.
And if my remarks should be better held until agenda item B, that's fine.
Now's fine if you'd like to speak.
Just have really a few things I'd like to comment on. I appreciate your time, so I won't waste any of it. But basically, in a conversation with Administrator Welsh, we were talking about a record of 129 service failures, I think, combination of May, June, and July. Is that right? What I want to make sure that the board recognizes is 3 services a week with the population you have and 4.33 weeks per month, that's 43,000 opportunities for service failure. So 129 in a 3-week period is very, very minimal. Now, we have other issues that we track that are not service. There are extra pickups, a lot of different things. Some people call that a service failure. I think it's just a service request. But regardless of how you classify that, by July, we're down to like a 4% service failure. That includes all these extra services. Our service has gotten much better every month of 2017. 2016 was a very rough year, and we acknowledge that, we know that, it was challenges we had never foreseen or ever experienced. I think we came out better, with a better service model for our customers, with better communication. So I had sent out kind of some ideas to all the members. I hope you all got one. But the advantages of retaining WCA. Obviously, we're here. The drivers we have now know their routes. That's been one of the big struggles, is to get qualified, good, dependable drivers. We presented the best and lowest bid for services. And we put a lot of equipment improvements in that enhance our service. Issue resolution is probably my biggest pet peeve. My emphasis in 2017 has been communication between municipal customers and our company. We're developing websites that we can link on the city's website, so people get an electronic form they can fill out if they want to post for lids off my car. I need an extra pickup, I've got a couch out. Whatever they want to do. It will also have a direct email with someone who is then responsible to respond with what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. These are the big communication issues. The other thing then is to track it. What we're offering our municipalities is a monthly report showing the service issue, the date, the nature of the issue, the address, and our resolution date, what we did, and it's closed. If there's anything that we need to approach council for getting your blessings to do something or not do something, we will be here. The other thing is the service improvement. We have spent a lot of investment getting better drivers, better equipment. One of the things about service is the age of your fleet, your maintenance. All of these different things to keep your trucks running safely and in DOT compliance. The other thing is the municipal contracts. That is my focus. That is solely my focus. So I will be more visible to our municipal customers. I have all Missouri and part of Kansas. One of my, I wouldn't say it's goals, one of my mandates is to have contact with every municipality quarterly at least. So you'll know who to talk to, you'll have direct contacts, and that information is what I put out there for any questions.
Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask at this time?
I got one question.
Use your mic. Clint, make sure you use your mic.
Sorry. You consider, like, you said something like picking up couch or something like that was an extra service.
like picking up a dumpster at a business, do you consider that?
If we're picking up a dumpster for a commercial business, that is an extra pickup.
Okay.
What we try to do is work with those customers.
I was just trying to.
Okay, yeah. And in your contract, you have X number of bulky items picked up and no charge. So this is something that's really unusual. Maybe someone's moving out and they've got more than just a few bulky items. They call us and have us come to them.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Hold on, that gentleman.
Oh, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
You're welcome to go after him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I watched the last Alderman meeting that you all had, and I know there were some concerns about backgrounds on other companies who had put in proposal for the trash collection here in Harrisonville. So real briefly, I'm not gonna bore you with the last 27 years of my life. I don't want to do that to you. I will real briefly tell you that 1990 is when I started in this business, way back when with Dale Atkinson and Jim Mason. I'm sure most of you all know that. At that point, the city of Harrisonville, the residents of Harrisonville, was getting some of the best service that they've received for quite some time at that point. While I was there with my hands in the middle of it, making sure the trash was picked up, recycling was picked up, yard waste was picked up, and so forth. So that was back in the old days when we picked up yard waste one day a week. The entire city was picked up on Wednesdays, and that was it. We go back that long, I'm kind of dating myself. Some of you was here with me. At that point, Dell and Jim sold to Allied Waste Services. And as we all know what happened with that, everything started getting worse. It was at that point, Roll-Off Services ended up with a contract back with the city of Harrisonville. Once again, Jim Hasten and myself was reacquainted. Again, I was back working, picking up the trash and the recycling for the city of Harrisonville. Again, at a point in time when there was very few issues, if any at all at that point. It was at that point that I decided I'm done with the trash for a while. I made it almost 6 months, so I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I had to get back into it again. It was at that point, Town and Country Disposal, J.R. Pesic, whom I've known for 20 some odd years, had asked me to come to work for him. I was hired there as the guy to take care of most of and all the routes that they had. Again, when the service was as good as what the residents expected at that time. It was at that point that Town and Country Disposal was then acquired by WCA. Again, another corporation. It was very capable of doing the job. Don't get me wrong in that aspect of it. Again, I had to leave. It was at that point I started my own business. It was at that point we obtained the city of Greenwood. Shortly after that, we obtained the city of Freeman. Shortly after that, we obtained the city of Pleasant Hill. For some of the same issues that every resident or most residents in this town has all, I'm sure, contacted each and every one of you about for the same reasons. These are the reasons why we have those. I believe in the packet that I turned in was letters of recommendations from each one of those cities. We've been servicing the city of Freeman now for 5 months, and I've yet to hear my phone ring from anybody in that city or the city clerk or the mayor. One person I talked to out there is Tommy Brady, who used to be the mayor out there at one point. And that's usually about how many tomatoes or watermelons he picked, and that's usually about it. City of Greenwood, there's weeks go by, we never hear anything from them ladies up there. I mean, weeks that go by that we very rarely, if ever, hear anything from those ladies. Most of the time we build a new house, they need a new trash can. That's the extent of the phone calls that we usually get out of the city of Greenwood. Pleasant Hill's the same way. And I believe the mayor, I had asked him for a letter of recommendation as well. I believe he's reached out to one or two of you as well. I'm just here in case anybody has any questions about any other issues that you guys have when we get to that point of it on your guys' agenda tonight. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. If there's anything that we can do at that point, then we'll be most happy to take care of it for you.
Does anybody have any questions at this point? Either of you have a question over there, Brad, or?
No, but she does.
No,
Okay, all right, I was making sure I didn't want
the
to.
name of your company.
Municipal Waste Services.
Municipal Waste Service, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
All right, very good. Anybody else?
I got one. So pretty much what you're telling us is every trash service that we have had a good relationship with you were pretty much in charge of?
I'm not here to toot my own horn, it's just a pattern
I'm not asking.
that this happens with it, but yes, when the times is best is because, and I think, and if Dale or Jim was here, I would thank both of them. Dale or Jim has the same ideals that I have. You pay us to do a job. You don't pay us to make your guys' phone ring. And that's what it's about. It's because you pay for a service, and that's what you deserve. There shouldn't be, whether there's 50 phone calls, whether there's 129 phone calls, whether there's 10 phone calls. My guys all know, I accept 0 phone calls. There's weeks go by that they obtain that. But yes, over the course of the last 30 years, since 1990, 27 years, over the course of the last 30 years, yes, I have been directly involved with the city of Harrisonville and their residents picking up their trash, yard waste, recycling at different points when there was little or no concerns whatsoever. The last 8 years, I was the one that was in charge of it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you started your own business.
Yes, ma'am.
We have Greenwood and
Freeman
Freeman,
in the city of Pleasant Hill.
City of Pleasant Hill.
And there's a couple of HOAs in Lee Summit that we service and commercial accounts all over the county.
Okay, my question would be, because Harrisonville's a little, it sounds to me like Harrisonville's a little larger than the other cities you're committed to
Mhm.
at this point. And you feel like you have the equipment and the personnel to take on a city this large?
That's a good question. I actually have 4 people who are residents of the city of Harrisonville who call me on a daily basis. Are you ready to hire me yet? Can I come to work for you yet? Those are just the people at the city of Harrisonville. I have a very long list of about 8 employees who begs me on a daily basis or a weekly basis for me to come to work for them. I've also surrounded myself and my company with very, very good people. Those people are Elliott Equipment. Now, what does that do for me? If I have a truck breaks down, I pick up the phone and make a phone call, within 30 minutes, there's a truck sitting on the street to pick it up. We're signing with, if we move forward with the city of Harrisonville, we'll be buying 3 more, possibly 4 more trucks. That gives us basically 2 extra trucks just to sit there for me to pay taxes on and insurance on and licensing on, to sit there in case something happens with them. I'll probably eventually go out and help them do something. They don't like me to, because every time I do, I mess something up. But I will most likely be involved, especially with the city of Harrisonville in the very beginning, especially in the very beginning. Same as I did in Greenwood, same as I did in Pleasant Hill. That won't change. The difference is I was born here, I was raised here, I moved out of here, but I'm still Harrisonville.
I have a question. How many do you service in Pleasant Hill?
Pleasant Hill, they're just shy of 3,000 homes, so it's very comparable to the city of Harrisonville. There's
Okay.
approximately 3,400 homes, I believe, here in
I
Harrisonville.
was thinking their population was close to ours, so it would be
Very similar. yes.
relatively the same,
Yes,
so.
very, very similar.
Okay.
Pleasant Hill's the same as any other city. There's always 4 or 5 people. It don't make any difference if I went in and bagged their trash up, took it outside, and threw it in the back of the truck for me. They're not gonna be happy with those. They're just those few. Bigger the city, that number goes from 4 to 6. That's the only difference, really. But the general consensus of everything up there is just what I said. My guys know I have 2 rules. Take care of my equipment, and I don't want my phone to ring. Those are 2 rules I got.
You do trash and brush pickup?
We do trash, we do yard waste, and we do recycling. And as my RFP that I turned in included yard waste, not year-round, it can be year-round. It included it for 8 months out of the year, I believe it was, something like that, from April to November. It's the same way we basically always done it. City of Harrisonville's always done it every week. Again, it used to be on one day only, Wednesday, and then when JR took that over, is when we kind of changed all that stuff.
Thank you.
I'm just a little confused with what you said there, because you said it pretty rapidly. Your first RFP submission to us included yard waste pickup 8 months of the year.
Correct.
On a weekly basis or a monthly basis?
Weekly,
Your first RFP
that is correct.
included weekly trash collection for 8 months out of the year.
Trash, all year round, recycle all year round. And yard waste, I included it from April 1st through November 31st, weekly. With the Christmas tree pickup the first 2 weeks in the month of January.
So then, what did your second RFP, your recent?
It was the same exact thing, it was nothing really.
Okay.
We changed that one.
All right, and if you watched the video, as you say you did, you saw some of the concerns that I had raised and some of the things that I had asked that we check just as a matter of reference. One of the things that I was concerned with was if you had some kind of an issue at your facility and you couldn't pick up or process our garbage, do you have a backup plan? Do you have a colleague in the business that could come to Harrisonville and pick up our garbage?
I actually have 3 other colleagues that's in the business that would be more than happy to get that.
Okay.
Those of you, there's very few of you know me. I probably know Clint because I've grown up with him more so than anybody else. You know my former employer. He understands that that will never be an issue. Because I have one bad side of me is this, folks. I don't like losing. I'm not a very graceful loser. That means I have to be here till 9 o'clock at night to make sure that your trash is picked up. It's going to be picked up when we're doing it. Whether I do it or whether I have to call in support from somebody else, which I can do at any given point if I need to. I can drive to Grandview, hop in a different vehicle, different trash truck, recycle truck, yard waste truck, whatever you want to call it, and bring it to Harrisonville and do it myself.
And then where would you take it? If your facility wasn't in operation and you picked up the garbage, where would you take it?
The next morning at 7:30 a.m., I'd be sitting at the city of Lee Summit to dump that truck.
You have some type of contractual agreement with them? You can.
No, anybody can go in there 7:30 in the morning and dump. That's when they open them. Come from 7:30 to 5 o'clock. Every morning.
Yeah, very good. Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. If anything comes up, of course, when we're talking about this, any of you will be open for questions, so.
Sure.
All right. Very
Thank you
good.
for your time.
You bet. Did you have, Mr. Winnick? All right.
Good evening, guys. My name is Zach Flannery. I'm a resident of Harrisonville, Missouri. I have been my entire life. I also happen to be a WCA employee. I just wanted to bring a couple things to your guys' attention and not even necessarily make my case, but my entire adult life, working life, I have tried extremely hard to find a job that I could make a decent living at and be close to home. I've got 2 little kids, 2nd grade, and or no, 3rd grade and 1st grade. He'd be all mad at me if I say 2nd grade. I want to be closer to my kids. Probably 5 months ago, I found a job online. I applied. I met my boss, Tim Graham, and it's 10 minutes from my house. I've never came across anything in this town where I can make a living and support my family the way that I'd like to, and be so close to home. There are a lot of good people that work out there that live in Harrisonville, that their paychecks come from WCA that are in Harrisonville. Their kids go to school here. I've worked a bunch of jobs in this town. Brian, I worked for Todd Quick for 5 years. Todd and Christie, I worked with Shauna at Casco. Both jobs that I loved, but I couldn't make the living that I wanted to. And I finally found a place in Harrisonville where I can do that. And it's been a really great place for me to be. There's a lot of people that depend on being able to work in Harrisonville. And I mean, it's been a godsend for me to be able to, so close to my house. I got to go watch the eclipse with my kids today because because I work here. And like I said, I've lived here my entire life. My entire family lives here. I love my city. I really like the company I work for. I know those guys are working their butts off to get things right. I was a customer before I was an employee, and I was upset at the beginning because my stuff didn't get picked up. But since I've started, I mean, especially these last few months, I know the route supervisors, I see the drivers every day. Stuff's getting picked up. When the phone rings, the girls answer the phone upstairs. If they can't answer it, I help take the calls. I do sales then. I help with the roll-off stuff. I do some commercial sales. Those guys are working their butts off. They've really got a lot of stuff lined out. And they're trying to improve every day. I see those guys. They come in, they ask me, hey, did we get this delivery set up? I say, yeah, we did. And then we're back on service. We do a lot of business in Harrisonville. That's my home, and I'm so glad that I actually get to work with you. Just like you guys to keep that into consideration. I think I reached out to some of you throughout the week, left you guys some voicemails. Matt or Clint, I think I talked to one of you guys on the phone earlier this week, maybe. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I think so. But if you guys have any questions or anything, I mean, I don't know the technical ins and outs of everything, but I know the people there. I know how hard everybody's working. I mean, feel free to ask me any questions. You guys got my phone number, give me a call. But that's about all I've got.
I got a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is minor because it only affected me and those around me.
Right.
But when my trash wasn't picked up a couple of weeks ago, what are the reasons that they don't get picked up? Because there was a whole bunch of them that didn't get picked up that day. And
So-
then the next day they came right around and got it.
Most of the things that I hear are a driver was sick, or a driver was on vacation, and there was a mix-up. And there are protocols in place to where actually our general manager will get in the truck and he'll go around and pick stuff up. We have a ton of trucks that are available to people to go pick it up. And then whenever something like that happens, all you have to do is call in, and then we do the best that we can to get somebody out that day. If not, we do it the very next day.
I know that day, there were a lot of them. Because Randy, I came in and talked to Randy and I saw that list. What were there, like 25 or 30 on that list so far, and I got there early in the day, so.
Right.
I guess my question is if you have it in place for that person to come and take over if somebody
Right.
gets sick or there's a mix-up, why isn't it happening?
You know, I don't really have a great answer for that, but I mean, I do know that there are protocols in place that are to mend those issues and to lighten that load. But if there is an error, which there are occasionally going to be errors, hopefully less than more. But we do have the manpower and the people to go rectify the situation as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I was asked a question just this morning, Zach, and it has to do with yard waste and when the bags are wet. An individual puts their yard waste out on the curb and then they go to work, and then after, since they've left, it rains and the bag is wet. It seems as though that some of those bags are not being picked up, or notes are being left on those bags that they can't pick them up. My question is, you know, if the weather is out of our control, and if a bag of yard waste is paper and it's wet, how can we get that picked up then?
I actually saw that question on your Facebook earlier. You know, I don't typically work with residential clients, but I could definitely get you an answer to that. I don't know what the correct way.
One of your managers in.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, yeah, this is Benjamin Afada.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Benjamin. I'm the business analyst for the region. So basically, I'm going to go to you and I will come back to your response. Sometimes, if it's heavy, there's a weight restriction on how much weight we can pick up.
I think it's 50 pounds.
Yes. So we've had a lot of new drivers recently. That's why you see we need some pickups. It takes about 3 to 6 weeks. So 3 months, I guess, yeah, for them to understand the route. Hopefully, if they don't quit, then they get to understand and we improve our service. So our goal right now is making sure we pay the drivers good, giving them the right truck. And also going back to the fact about misses from the gentleman right there. The BCA started, we acquired Town and Country. We came into the market here to give the best service. That's what we do everywhere. We came in and we noticed safety issues. We needed to take care of safety because we don't want to go on the streets and we have kids and everyone on the street. The truck has to be safe. The employees has to be safe. Going through the drug screening and the rest. So that pulled us back with surely the drivers and employees. So we had issues from last year, like Max was saying. We were able to improve on that this year. Now we have new management on ground. I was sent in from corporate to see how we can improve productivity and rerouting and route balancing. So I've been doing this for the past 2 months and we're seeing more improvement right now. We can assure you one thing and one thing alone, the best service for your money because we understand you're paying the money, the residents are paying the money, they deserve the best. Our goal is hire 2 more CSR to answer the calls, the customer service rep, answer the calls in case of any issues. We got new trucks. I just got back from Alabama last week here. to get, to see the trucks we're trying to get from the manufacturers. So we're getting new trucks on the ground. We're not just getting the trucks to service. We need trucks to be ready, just in case there's a truck that broke down, we have a backup plan. So we also, we're trying to hire 3 more drivers to take care of issues like when we have a driver that has to go on vacation, you have a driver that is calling sick. That's what really causes the missed pickup, because now you have a driver that's used to the routes. For some reason, they called in sick, or they quit, or something happened. But now we have to send a new driver out there to go pick up. It's a loop thing. If he doesn't understand the route, it's gonna, obviously, we cannot control that. So the only way we can control that is making sure 2 drivers understand the route. If 2 drivers understand the route, if one call in sick or something happened, we can send the other driver out there to go cover the route, and it's going to be efficient. And at the end of the day, everything will come out good. Because the goal from the CEO is making sure WCA don't just get the money from the people. It's to give them. We don't want to sell our products. We want the people to buy our product because they love the product. So that's the goal right now. So we just want to say, give us one more chance, and we're ready to put the resource in place to give you the best service. So if you have any questions, please.
Can you be sure to give the clerk your full name whenever you get done, just so he has that for the record? Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions for me or anything that I may be able to assist with? Yeah, you got one.
Thank you. You're the one that sat back there.
Yes. Randy, Arthur Butler, 606 Machine. You know, I sat there and I listened to this, and what was it, 2 years ago? We had 2 supervisors come in and tell you the same story. Got having a hard time buying, getting drivers, getting them past the license test. I went through a little problem with these people. And the little lady out there told me, there'll be a driver there this afternoon. Didn't happen. Next morning, there'll be a driver there in the morning. Didn't happen. Went for a week. Didn't happen. We got David and Goliath going on. And when you can call and talk to David, it's a whole lot easier than calling and talking to Goliath's under. If Goliath wants to leave the CEO's phone number, give him. Look at him. You've got a man that's been here, done that, but he's small enough to care. He's not a large conglomerate that's sitting somewhere in an easy chair and letting the underlings out there bid for him. And I guarantee you, he don't want phone calls. He'll make sure something happens. The CEO will make something happen. One night my phone, or 1 week my phone was out down in Texas. I called in for 6 days in a row to get my phone fixed because my wife was pregnant. The last time I called, I went down to 7-Eleven, this is in Texas, put a dime in the phone, got the operator and said, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to your boss. I went through 7 of them. I finally got him in. And I said, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to the boss. It was the CEO of the company. He said, I guarantee there'll be a yellow truck in your driveway when you get home. And there was. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close public participation. I do want to make a comment that this is 2 weeks in a row. We've had a lot of trash talk in our public participation. So anyway, moving on to our approval of the minutes. First, we have the Board of Aldermen regular meeting, August 7th, 2017. Move to approve. Second. I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just ask for a slight amendment to these minutes. On
Which item?
On item C, it's page 2. It's the very last line. where it says Alderman Bowman said there is an experience modifier rate that could be referenced.
Uh-huh.
Could we just insert in there that the words "that would measure safety performance"? I just think it would be important to have the minutes reflect what the experience modifier rate does. So just insert the words "measure safety performance."
Now, mine's on the bottom of page 4. And if you have it printed out, I guess it shows up on the bottom of page 4.
I'm
So-
not looking at it on the computer.
No, that's fine. I just make sure the ones that
Okay.
had it print, yeah. So under C, if you have the printed copy, it should be the very bottom statement. And I'm just gonna read it again, Judy.
Sure.
Alderman Bowman said there's an experience modifier rate that could be referenced, period. So can you repeat what you want added?
Yes. Experience modifier rate that could be referenced to measure their safety performance.
Randy, did you get that? Any objection to adding that? Motion to amend. Still second. All right, so we have a motion to amend and a second from Alderman Dickerson with the motion, Alderman Long with the second. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, oh, I saw them, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't. All right, next we have the minutes from the August 7th, 2017 executive session. Motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, moving on to our agenda items. First tonight, we have changing the board meeting date to for Labor Day. I believe last meeting we discussed possibly just not having that meeting. However, I'd like to point out we do have some appointments need to be made. I do have a list of them. One of mainly is being as it relates to the TIF Commission. We need to get that repopulated and back up and running to meet our requirements for our filing this year. So it was suggested that we go ahead and look to have a meeting on that Tuesday, the 5th. And then we could, I mean, mostly it would be to deal with appointments and make a few small, it would be a very short meeting. But at this point, staff is thinking it might be best if we go ahead and have that meeting so we can get those appointments made, unless anybody has an objection to having a meeting.
That's on Tuesday.
Maybe on Tuesday, yeah, instead of Monday. Since it falls on a holiday. I mean, we were, again, one of those, we were thinking it could be an opportunity for a break, but we do have things that we do need to cover, and again, I don't think it would be a very long meeting, but.
Do we want to do it at 7 still, same time? or-
Yeah, I think we'd still keep the 7 o'clock time, just simply because that's what's advertised. Yeah, I believe we'd need a motion.
Make a motion that we change the date, what's the date?
September 5th, Tuesday, September 5th.
September 5th.
I'll second that.
7 p.m.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson to move the meeting to Tuesday, September 5th at 7 p.m. I have a second from Alderman Long. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will have our meeting on Tuesday. Now, item B, trash collection request for proposals. I'd like to make a comment before it opens to the board. I've read through the material, and you know, I've had my own experiences. One being, I've never in the 40 years I've lived here, 40+ years, remember seeing my trash can cracked, broke. My recycle bin's actually been broken to where I had to wire tie it back together to still put my recycles out. I'm thankful finally new trash can and recycle bin made its way to my house. Eventually, I think my trash can finally met its end, and so they had to bring me a new can. Anyway, I've experienced the late pickups, and I understand that there can be growing pains with a company. But what I haven't seen is the level of phone calls that City Hall has had to field. Typically, the companies field the calls, and they address the calls. Even with City Hall, at times we were having trouble getting the calls. Now, I do know that there have been improvement made, and I do know that there's been work towards that end. And so I do appreciate that. I have spoke with CJ up in Pleasant Hill. He called me. We discussed, you know, what their service has been like. I was curious, you know, how things went up there. He told me it's actually the only time he has ever, one of the few times he's had to vote on a matter, and he broke the tie in favor of changing to municipal, and he felt that was one of the best votes he had made, best decisions he had made, and that they've been very happy with their service. So I know Mr. Moore has lived around here. I look back, I mean, one of the things I use for a reference for myself is what have we had over the years, and I can never remember having issues over the years, and the last one I had was, I had been gone on vacation for a few days, and then I had to come home and immediately leave town, and I forgot to get my trash out on a Wednesday evening for Thursday. I have one trash bin, and I typically rolled across the street to my neighbors, so there's only trash on one side of the street, so the driver, because we're the only two houses on that part of the street, I just think it's easier for the drivers so they don't have to go around and pick up two sides. And I had a little extra trash, so I stuck my other two cans out there because, again, I had forgot to put my trash out, partially, you know, that's my fault. However, I received a note on my can saying, please use the bins provided. Well, I think my neighbor who has two cans, his cans were full, and so, or not quite full, so I guess they assumed that it was all the same person. Well, I typically try to use the main container. I don't always have, I have a large family, sometimes we go over the allotted amount, so if I was to recommend anything, I would be looking to consider municipal waste is roughly $20 difference between the two for a year on services. So keep that in mind when you're considering this, that the price differential is very small and what we have experienced over the last year. So that's all I have to say, and I will leave it in the capable hands of Mr. Welch to continue. All yours, sir.
Okay, so just to update you on what we received, quotes were opened up on Wednesday, the 16th. Received a quote from WCA. Their quote for 26 weeks of yard waste pickup was the same as what they had previously submitted for pickup, so $11.97. For 52 weeks, that price went up to $12.22. That was followed up by Jim's Disposal at $13.41 for 26 weeks of yard waste pickup. But that jumped to $14.11 for 52 weeks. And for municipal services, their rate was the same, $13.80. It did not change whether you're talking 52 weeks or 26 weeks. Again, you heard his recommendation. His recommendation was to do it 8 months of the year. Waste Management declined to submit anything. They felt that they could not provide, they could not provide that service, so they didn't submit a bid. So what you have is, again, the same information that we passed along before. You've got Waste Management with the lowest amount, Jim's with the next lowest, Municipal Services with the next. Jim's had, we had two references, one good, one bad. We have Waste Management, I'm sorry, not Waste Management, Waste, WCA's history. Again, they went through their percentages, saying that it was pretty low, but there were a lot of phone calls to City Hall and to the board members. The Municipal Services, the references that we had were good. So I would leave it up to the board to decide how you want to proceed with working out a contract. Again, we're just accepting a proposal, and then we still have to work through the contract and get everything hammered down to, how are we going to contact each other, how are we going to keep track of things. One of the things that we want to do with whoever's doing the trash collection is have a more direct line with the driver to say, here are issues, and for the driver to have contact for our staff to say, here's something that we bumped into, you might get a call, this is what we bumped, this is what happened. So then we can respond to the customer immediately and say, here's what you need to do to change that and make it work. So these are things that we can work in a contract, that would be coming in the future for the board to decide.
Mr. Fairfield, you wanted to comment before we...
I was going to suggest that, unlike some of the other RFPs that you've had, considering the past issues that have occurred, I would recommend whoever you decide to choose, at least initially, you authorize Mr. Welch and I to to try to negotiate a contract that addresses the concerns. I know I've already received some comments about issues that people would like to see addressed in the contract, and then have us bring it back for a final approval, assuming that we can address all the concerns with the person you initially select. And if we can do that, then you can approve at that time, rather than doing a final approval at this meeting necessary.
And in the proposal, that is how it's stated. There is a separate consideration for the contract itself.
All right. All right. Well, move on. You look like you're ready to go, so you can start it off.
Thank you. I have a question of Mr. Welch. I sent you an email a few days ago asking you what the administration fee would be that the city would be tacking on
Right.
to, and you haven't specifically, you said you thought, well, here's your email. We haven't determined the final administration fee, but I want it lower because we're including costs that we've been paying for in the past, like the cleanup days, containers for the Burnt District Festival. Where I worked before, we charge $1 per customer. Right now, we charge $1.69. There will be some offset, but it's still small compared to the overall cost increase. My yard waste collection experience is once a month, satisfies the majority of homeowners. It was a misguided effort on my part to include it in the RFP. What is going to be the city's charge?
Don't know yet because we haven't finished with the budget. So once we've determined what our numbers are, what each department has been paying for those fees, then we'll determine what that number should be.
Can you tell us what the maximum amount would be?
Maximum amount would be the same that we're paying now, but I don't see that necessary. I don't see that as being necessary.
So it would be less than 169?
Yep.
Okay. And probably it's worthy to note that, and representatives from WCA, you can answer this for me if I'm wrong, but I have been advised that you have been donating the containers for our Burnt District Festival, that you have not been charging us for those. Does anybody?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. So, just for clarification, we have not been paying for that.
We do it for the hazardous waste collection, we do it for that.
But not the
Burnt
Burnt
District.
District.
Not the Burnt District.
Right, okay.
Good. All right. Anything else? Nope. Did you have a, we'll take comments once everybody, if we need additional comments, we'll go around. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up, add?
Just out of curiosity, on recycling, is it just glass still?
And you should like that way they don't everything. Thanks.
Recycling, just glass? Glass, plastic?
Everything but glass.
Everything but glass is what we've had.
Okay. And the new will be the same?
Yes.
For all of them have the same, yeah.
Can you share with us, Mr. Welch, what the concern was that was raised with the third bidder, just so that we know in case that may be a concern that we should ask these two bidders? What was the concern with Jim's? You said you had one good reference and one bad reference. What was the bad reference?
That reference was from Casey, I think it's Casey ATA. They didn't feel that their service was being performed well, and they didn't have a positive recommendation.
They didn't elaborate what they meant by it wasn't being performed well?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to see if there was something that we would ask, if there was a concern with them, we might ask these bidders.
Mr. Moore, did you have a comment you wanted to share?
I did real quickly, if I could, please.
Sure.
The question, it keeps coming up of phone calls. When I call somebody, I never get a response. When I email somebody, I never get a response. Being a small company, as Mr. Butler so graciously pointed out, when you call our phone number, you don't have to go through 7 people or talk to the CEO. You get to talk to me. And I don't have to ask anybody whether I can do that or whether I can't do that. When you call us, the phone conversation comes right straight to me. I'm the one that gets to make that decision. And my decision is always going to be on what's best for the residents, not what's best for me. What's best for me is not picking up trash laying in front of other containers from a competitor's that's been laying there for 3 or 4 weeks and residents can't get it picked up. That's not my best interest. It's in best interest of the residents, not me. This is not about me. It's about what's best for the residents. On my record, when it comes to safety, I had no fatalities on my record, or my company's record.
So do you know what your EMR rating is?
No, because the insurance company, most of that is figured out through the insurance company. They go through that. I don't have a corporate safety guide that plugs in these numbers to come up with that number that you're looking for. That would actually go through, in my instance, that would go through a insurance company, their person who takes care of all that stuff back and forth. They're gonna reach a number. What they use that number for is how much money I gotta fork out to them every month or every quarter as well. And that's where that number would come into. But as far as the conversation is called, when you call us, it starts and stops with me. When you call, I'm the one you get to talk to, 99% of the time. Either myself or the second command, which is my wife. And nobody questions us. I still sign the paychecks.
Oh, Reese, did you have something? Oh,
well.
She's been asking me questions in school for a long time, so I'm just waiting for that.
Well, I heard you say earlier that you had contacted members of the board, and I think my name sometimes just isn't on that list, so I was wondering who all you had spoken with.
The only person that I spoke with is Clint when I went in to ask him a question regarding the pickup I just bought.
I see.
And we had a very brief conversation about it. It was right, and he had a couple questions, I had a couple questions, blah, blah, blah. I think I emailed Happy once or twice. Yeah, and I talked to him on the phone once.
Okay, well, understand there are 7 of us at this point, so feel free to call us all.
Oh, and that's the reason why, and just so we're all clear, if you guys so graciously choose us, I want you guys to know that each and every one of you sitting up there, not everybody over there, no pun intended, and I apologize in advance. Every one of you guys get my personal number. You get 2 phone numbers. You get my business number, and you get my personal number. I guarantee I'll answer one of them.
I'll put it on speed dial.
One thing I can assure you is I've offered that to everybody, and I've yet to receive any phone calls from them.
And you're gonna need our numbers as well.
That is fine.
Anybody?
Judy, this gentleman over here said that he talked to some of the members of the board.
That was me.
All right.
He talks to me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you answer my question about the yard waste that is wet? What will happen if there's a bag of yard waste in paper and it's wet? Will your drivers pick it up?
Okay, first I'm going to preface my answer to this by this. I am not your typical owner of a company. Okay? You'll never see me in a suit and tie. If you do, I'm probably on the way to a funeral someplace. Wet yard waste bag, if it wasn't picked up, I'm sorry, therefore excuse. Number one, I hate yard waste. I'm going to be the first one to tell you. I've been doing it for 27 years and I hate yard waste. There's nothing worse than green grass put in a bag and the top rolled down on it. It stinks. The bottoms never last in them because the heat that it builds as it sits on your driveway, you know, because after I pick up the bags of yard waste, there's still a little black puddle laying there. For the rest of it, it's nasty. I just threw water at the landfill that I would play in yard. Just because it rained, you're exactly right. It's not your fault. It's not the resident's fault. It's not my fault. But it still gets picked up. Now, if you fill a yard waste bag full of dirt, rocks, mulch, and it weighs 150, 200 pounds, I'm not going to ask these guys to do that.
What is your weight limit per bag?
There's 2 guys on that truck. If 2 of them can't pick it up, then it gets left on here. The rule that I've always went by, I went by this rule for many, many years. And it's real simple. If it ain't nailed down, it better go on the truck.
And is your truck, do you utilize individuals to throw garbage in, or do you have an automatic?
We have 2 automated trucks. There's 2, possibly 3 more on the way. And then there's 2 rear load trucks. There's 1 rear load truck right now, and then there'll be another rear load truck coming. We have to keep the rear load trucks in effect because that way when you throw away the king size mattresses, box springs, and things of that nature, that's kind of tough to get those in the automated trucks. So instead of me giving you an excuse, well, it's too big, I'm not going to pick it up this week, cut it in half and then we'll take it. No, I send the other Mr. Moore around with his buddy, and they throw the stuff in the back of the truck, because there's two guys that get on that truck and they take care of it.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
If you fill your trash container, say you're cleaning out your garage,
Mhm.
and you fill your normal trash container with trash, but you still have more, and you put it in a bag and set it beside the trash container. Will they get out and put that in as
If
well?
it's not nailed down, it better get thrown in the truck.
Okay,
Because
so they will pick it up.
That is correct. Everybody's gonna have extra trash from time to time. Everybody, I don't care who you are, including myself. And I got $750,000 trash can sitting in my house. And even I have extra trash every once in a while. That's gonna happen every once in a while. Now, it's the Joe Blow on the corner down here who every week has a pickup load full of trash out every week. Then it's at that point where Happy and I will have to have a conversation is, why does this guy have a pickup load full of trash every week? There's a problem here. One thing that's also in there that was in my RP that I want to make sure everybody understands, I want to increase the recycling in this town, a bunch. I want to give everybody a 64-gallon cart to recycle with, not a little bitty recycle bin. And this again has nothing to do with WCA, it's just the way that we've done it in the past. What we have found when we did the city of Rainmore, we give everybody up there a recycle container. Guess what happened? Everybody used it. We have increased the recycling by probably 20% in the city of Pleasant Hill because I give everybody a 64-gallon cart for recycling. And I want to do the same thing in the city of Harrisonville because I want to get the recycling up.
What goes in these?
Everything except for styrofoam, glass, and where we take it, they don't want a bunch of plastic bags.
Okay, when you say everything.
Any type of your plastics, 1 through 2, aluminum, tin cans, chipboard, cardboard,
Okay, so it all goes in the same container?
all goes in the same container. There's the old days of sorting in paper bags in a little red bin that said Cass County on the side. We don't do that anymore. Throw it all in the same container.
Where does that run?
I take all my stuff to Midwest Shredding at the corner of 71 and 150. And it's a single stream sort line. We actually dump it out and it goes up a conveyor belt and they sort everything out, put it in the cubby holes where it goes, and they take it and bell it, and then they put it on a truck and they sell it to the Chinese or people on the road that day. Unfortunate truth. Unfortunate truth.
On the turn, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
What are your protocols like if someone's trash gets missed and, you know, they call you and say, hey, my trash didn't get picked up? And you say, okay, hey, I'll check tomorrow. And then that don't happen. And it does get picked up. Would that happen, or, I mean, sure.
Well, I'm not going to tell you it's not. Number one, I'm going to tell you this. None of myself or any of my employees is perfect, but I will tell you this. We are incredibly good at what we do. That, I can promise you that. If you call me and tell me your trash was missed, then yes, we're going to send somebody back to get it. We're going to try our best to get there that day and pick it up. Now, if I can't make it happen that day, I'm not going to tell you, Matt, I'm going to be back there today to get it, and then tomorrow morning you're wondering why it's still laying there. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say it'll probably be tomorrow morning, realistically. Tomorrow afternoon at the latest, but we will get back by and get it. If you have to call me back a second time, somebody's not going to be happy. And me being happy is the least of that person's concerned at that point. So, that's just the way it works. It is what it is. But again, everybody's going to have extra trash from time to time. Just because you have an extra bag or two laying on the ground, I don't care about that.
No, I was talking about trash in your normal.
No, we'll do that. Every once in a while, somebody will put something in a trash can that gets wedged in one of those cards and everything don't come out of it. That happens too. There's, you know, the age-old question of my trash was it missed, or did you have it out in time? We've been fighting. I've been fighting that battle for 30 years. And everybody that's up here that was up here with me, they all fight the same battle too. This is what I will tell you: if we get 100% support from the city of Greenwood, from the city of Pleasant Hill. I would say Freeman, but I haven't talked to them since March, since we started. So the city of Greenwood and the city of Pleasant Hill, what we do is I call the guy and he says they wasn't out. That's fine, go back and get it. Next week, because the guys that I've employed take this stuff personally. When he gets there next week, you better hope he has a trash can, because if you don't, I get a picture of it. I immediately send that picture to the city clerk or whoever at those cities. When that person calls in and says that his trash was missed, then we tell them no, it wasn't. The only thing we ask is that the city backs us up when we have documented proof like that. It says, no, it wasn't out. Well, how do you know? Well, here's a picture. You want me to email it to you? You want me to text it to you? Take your pick. And we don't go back and get it this week. Guess what? Once we do that to them one time, I don't care if I did miss it. Every week for the next 3 weeks, they ain't going to call you because they done got called one time and they're never going to call you again. Not a good thing. I'm just saying that's the way it works. That's just, it's ugly truth. That's just how it works. I fight that, they fight that, everybody fights that, guy. misstops are never gonna go away. I'd like to tell you right now, it's never gonna happen, but if I did, I'd be lying to you right to your face. That would never happen.
Any other comments?
One more question. I apologize for shuffling my paper. I'm having trouble finding, what is the mailing address of your business?
P.O. Box 1010, Harrisonville, Missouri. Right now, we're moving everything out of Archie. If we move forward with the city of Harrisonville and a few other things that I'm working on, all this will be moving to the city of Harrisonville. We do all of our business in the city of Harrisonville. We buy all of our parts from there. We go visit Clint if we need a flat tire fix. Merle Bohannon, God bless him. I buy as many parts as that man can sell me from him. I do my insurance with Stafford and Stafford Insurance right here in town. We do as much business here in this town as we possibly can to begin with. It's not going to get any more just because we get a contract. That's not going to get any more. This is just how I choose to do business. This is my town. I grew up here. It's still my town. I drove all over the state of Missouri, following the Wildcats around for 6 years in a row. And I didn't even have to get a plane out. It's still my town.
So you said something that is a little bit of a concern to me. You said if you get the contract, that you will buy all of your tires from Clint.
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say?
No, I said right now we currently take vehicles to his store because he's
Not the big trucks. He bought a new truck.
He's not gonna do
brought
those
it to my
trucks.
shop.
Okay, with that question, I'd like to ask a question of the WCA gentleman. Do you, from time to time, use Alderman Long's shop for repairs?
Frankly, I do not know. I'm not in the maintenance division, so I don't know. We try to do
I
that.
have
Two
seen,
of the trucks are sitting.
I have seen the trucks at the shop, so that
They do.
any fact that, I mean, Clint does work for both of these companies, so I don't think that plays into it for Alderman Long, since he obviously does business for both, and I don't know that either one is looking, you know, they're.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that.
No, that's a good point, and that's why I was actually going to ask them that question when this was done, so it would be brought out, so thank you for bringing it up anyway.
To my knowledge, he doesn't take care of the big tires. He might, I don't know. To my knowledge, he doesn't take care of the big tires. We actually change most of our tires ourselves. I have a supplier in Kansas City that brings me the tires, and I get back there and just put them on.
I don't want to do big tires.
I don't either.
Well, I'm comfortable if, that there's no conflict of interest going on here because both of these individuals, both these companies are in your
Yes.
business. so
And
you
if
don't-
there is a conflict of interest of anything, it would be with WCA. Because I've been doing business with JR
Can you use the mic, Clint?
with JR back when he, they did their big tires, because just like I said, back when Love's came into town, I don't do big tires. I don't want to do them. I have the equipment to do it, but, by the time you put 3 guys on one truck, they're beat down, wore out, tired. I mean, anyone who's done it, it's not any fun. I would rather put on, we're averaging 20 sets of tires, passenger tires a day. That's plenty good for me. I'm good. So, and I mean, as far as doing work for WCA or doing work for Brian on his own personal vehicle, I've done work for everyone.
Yep.
I mean, my dad owned a business. I pumped gas when I was 9 years old in this town. I've lived here my whole life. There probably isn't anyone in here, if you have lived here your life, I have probably worked on your car, even though you may not have even known it. I've worked everywhere.
Any more questions for Mr. Moore?
I would just have one. You said you did do Raymore? You were talking about the recycling in Raymore?
We did,
Oh.
with my former employer.
Okay.
We did it there. At that point, of recycling was you had to call us to get it. We didn't do it there. We just give everybody a recycling thing. And we noticed this, if kind of the old adage, if you build it, they will come. If you deliver them something bigger to put recycling in, they're gonna fill it up. It's just how it works.
Any further questions?
Can we make one comment?
Oh, I was, that's what I was getting at, because I was gonna offer one of you the opportunity to also get up.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry.
If you'd like to.
No offense to you guys at all. I have a small bladder.
If you want to talk slow.
And this happens every week, so.
I can speak slowly.
I have Mr. Moore, I've
been in the business since 1970, so I always looked at it, so that's just what happens.
That's what the business does to you. huh?
That's right. It is. I started on the back of a truck and learned to drive the truck and bought into ownership and just going on with bigger companies and better companies, so it's been a good life. One of the things in your yard waste question is very appropriate because of the weight. The first thing we look at is the safety of our employees and the customer. I hate to say service is not first, but literally, if it's unsafe, we will not do it. We're not gonna have our guys out working till 9 o'clock at night because it's against the OT regulations, which caused some of our extreme turnover that we experienced before. There are rules and regulations yet, right? Yard waste situation like that, our protocol is now that a route supervisor meets the driver and gets it. Granted, if it's too heavy for 2 people, no, probably not. But I think what you're referring to is just putting the regular leaves, grass, whatever in there, and it gets damp. The bag will fall apart sometimes. The driver will pick it up if it's in, keeping it safely. If not, he'll call for backup and route supervisor. The protocols we put in place, every municipal contract will have literally a protocol for our customer service representatives that says what the city gets, when they get it, what to do if you get called. That's why I wanted to emphasize that people will get return calls or emails or notes, when, what, and how, because they deserve an answer. We do have mistakes. That does happen, whether it's a different driver, whether he wasn't watching his route sheet, whatever it is, it does happen. We're less than 4 miles away. So we're talking, same day return service if need be. Worst case scenario, next day service. But when the customer calls in, they will be informed which one that is. It's an entirely different service model than what has been done before, because you need contacts and we need contacts. If we have an issue, the road is blocked because it's going damage, we will want to contact the city. Right now, it's going to be Mr. Welch. So we're putting these things in place. We've had several cities already renew their business with us. Kansas City, over 100,000 customers. They renewed their contract with us because service had improved and improved and improved. 3 of them are cities: Westwood, Fairway, and Roland Park. Went out for bids. They give the business back to us. Again, service has improved and improved and improved. Not perfect, but we're certainly trending that way. It'll never be a zero call problem. That just doesn't happen. We're all people. But it will be answered and it will be effective and efficient. On the MRF situation, what we pick up for recycle, we recycle. It goes to our MRF over at 19212 East 234th Street. If we pick it up as recycle, it's got to be recycled. We cannot afford to divert it to a landfill. Everything will be recycled that can be. When you pick up your trash, it goes to our transfer station. Then it goes to our landfill. We mitigate the city's liability by making sure we have outlets for our services. We protect our customers in that way. We know what goes in, we know where it is, and we take care of it. And that really is not sure it's true.
Anybody have any further questions?
Your recycling would be the same as the other company, the same sorts of things.
It's the same thing we do now. It's basically all recycled products. Plastics are 1 through 7, tin, aluminum, no glass.
No.
No glass. And no plastic bags. If anyone wants a tour of our MRF, we use different equipment that sucks the lightweight items off of recycling. If you get a bag in there, it plugs up the whole system. So we don't like plastic bags. They are a contaminant. Even though it's somewhere in the world, they are recycled.
I think they have drop-offs, like Walmart has a drop-off
Yeah.
thing for which,
Price
it makes sense why you have something like that.
And they have to ship it back to Bentonville.
Mhm.
No one else, if you can feature, a 20-ton load of plastic bags, it's horrendous.
Now, when you talk about the containers, and Mr. Moore brought up the bigger size container, and when my other container was broken, I got one of the,
Right.
it looks like a mini trash can
Correct.
that has the leaded wheels, which,
And-
they are wonderful, because
I agree.
they're cleaner than the bins, because the bins have holes for drainage, and it, I don't care what you do, there's always a little residual. So,
And that is what the city did.
okay, you would supply new ones to, if anybody who doesn't already have one, I guess, I mean,
Correct.
obviously. Okay.
What we would do is a public service announcement for your residents. If you wish to upgrade your service, there's no charge.
Right,
There's no additional charge. Just let us know.
Okay.
Send a form, call us, email us, whatever.
okay.
But no, the tubs were okay, but their time is passed.
They are obsolete, I agree, so, okay.
Some people still like them, but I prefer the car. More product, less trash.
Okay. I'd asked him about the big recycle bins on wheels,
Right.
and that Mr. Moore brought up, and he said yes, that anybody who wanted those would be provided. So we
That's
said
it. We finally got a bigger one with wheels after our low one blew away with the storm.
Yeah, that's the advantage too, I think, of those.
At least yours didn't get crushed though, right?
No, it just,
I want to know if somebody liked my creativity. I sewed mine back together with wire ties.
Some people are rather passionate about what their trash cans are.
He has a question for you.
Yes.
earlier you were talking about your protocols and stuff, similar to what the other gentleman. I mean, what if someone's trash got missed and so the next day they call and say, hey, my trash didn't get picked up. What type of protocol, or how do you handle that? I mean, I know you,
The old adage
What do
is
you
the
have?
customer may not be right, but they are the customer. They will get serviced.
okay,
If it is a repeat issue, similar to Mr. Moore, we would then either have a phone call for the resident or even contact the city and say, listen, I have a problem here.
well, my trash has been pretty good, but I had that problem 3 weeks ago. They missed my trash, hit the whole street, and I got my back. So then I called Mr. Welch and said, hey, my trash didn't get. And so then that afternoon, when I got home from work, I called Joe, and then, so she made a note and said, so I'll be by the next day. That was on Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, I got from work, the trash was still there, so I called again and said, hey, I said, my trash is still here. Well, our trucks run until Saturday. I said, okay, well, we still got a few hours. Thursday, still there.
Still there.
So I call again Thursday. I see where it's been noted several times in your account, and we'll try to spend up there today. I said, okay. Coming Friday, I said, I called my wife on the way home from work. She's still here. I said, hey, he's still here on Friday. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's been so much time in your account, and hopefully by, it'll be picked up by 7, They probably sent an email to somebody. I said, well, if after 7, then I'll take it back to the house. Finally, you did dump it sometime Saturday, because I go back to the house, and then come Sunday, I went to put some trash in, and it was empty. But I mean, I call every day, and then I was told this day.
Those are obviously service failures.
I mean,
And those are on us, but that's why we're putting the protocols in place.
and that's what I didn't know what kind of protocols you had now, and
Now it's been, I mean, up to this point, it's been survival. When you lose 50% of your drivers due to compliance issues, it's very, very difficult. But that's one of the reasons as we go through the cities, we're trying to get everything black and white, so we're on the same page. I know who to call, they know who to call.
well, because when you guys first took over, we had a guy come in and said he's gonna straighten it up in 90 days, give us his direct number. I don't know if he's with you all anymore.
We've been through 3 management teams
Yeah.
until we found one that could handle the issues. It's been a struggle on that point too. This has been entirely unusual. Like I said, I've been here since the 70s. I've never gone through this kind of integration this poorly. But when you buy a business and within the first 3 weeks you get DOT audits and there's no DOT files, oops, there's a problem.
All right, any other questions?
I do, I have one more question. Actually, it's a question for both Brian and yourself. I have a copy here of the original contract with Town and Country that was entered in November of 2005. And I also have a letter where Town and Country had offered the city a 3-year contract with no price increase. And I guess my question would be, would either one of you individuals consider guaranteeing the city of Harrisonville a price for more than 1 year? That would certainly help our people, and it would certainly help us with our budget, if that is at all a possibility.
I think it's 3, I think right now it's 3 years, correct, for both?
Correct.
Okay.
So it is 3 years now.
So I think there's, well, there's a 2-year contract.
That's what Mr. Fairbrother said.
Okay. Any further questions? All right.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna chip in one more stuff before he just said real quick. So basically, what we're trying to do right now is with service issues, like Matt just asked. You asked a question about the issue you had. You called. There was no good response. So what we plan to do is we have this plan on the long run. Before the 3 years elapse, we have a deal which it's called the RFID chip. We're going to come back to the city, to the council, and show you something that we have in place. RFID works in a place where if there's a missed pickup, it's going to show in the system. It's going to tell us what the issue was, why the driver didn't pick up the trash, if it was too heavy, or if it wasn't outside the cup side when it got there, or it just if it missed it entirely, it's going to be obvious. There's a login to the site where from the management point we can go to the system and see if the driver actually went through the route or not. We believe with this, even there's also a point where if you can't find your card for some reason, maybe heavy wind, tornado, your card is somewhere missing, we can track it with the RFID tag. So that's where we're driving towards right now. We started this in some other cities like in Mark. We're trying to drive this to the city of North Kansas City, city of Kansas City or so. We did this in Florida, entire Florida. It worked out real good. So that was our first model. Because that's what I do. I build all the pricing model for the corporation. So we did this and it's been working real good. It won't stop the missed pickup. It will reduce it to the minimum. That's one thing for sure, because then you have a reason to say, okay, yeah, it's from the residents, and that's why you're having this much pickup. So what do we do to improve this? Probably educate the residents, because that's another way to make it work. Educate them on how we can work effectively to reduce the missed pickup. So if you have any other question about the RFID, please just let us know. And just put this in mind, before the end of your 3 years, we're going to come back with the RFID chip to you.
Any question? If you got all these procedures, whatever you're doing, how come they're not in place yet? And when are you going to implement these?
Yeah, so it also has to do with cost and pricing. We just did an acquisition that barely 2 years ago. There's depreciation, obviously, there's CapEx. You have to think of your internal rate of return. So we just can't push to that line right now. We have to move one step at a time. So that's why we are showing you, as time goes by, 3 years from now, it's going to be 5 years. We can afford to go back and say, okay, yeah, at no cost, we can give the resident RFID at no cost. It costs to get it, the equipment.
Okay, so then when do you plan on having these type procedures in place? 2 years from now?
Yeah, 2-3 years from now. And again, for the missed pickup, what we're doing is, like I said, we just hired one. We're trying to hire the second CSR, customer service rep, and get 3 drivers. I mean, we just found out, like I came 3 months ago, and we found out from our phones, you had some, like 8 hidden lines that were like unuseful lines somewhere in the system. Nobody caught it. So we walked towards this end, and that's why sometimes residents call in, nobody answer the phone. It goes to a different line, or it get diverted to a different location. So we put that to stop last month. With Max was involved and Tim Dram was involved with that also. So right now, if you call, if the resident make any calls right now, it goes straight to the Harrisonville location. And another thing we're doing right now again is with the city of Kansas City, we dedicated just one sales rep, one CSR rep, and one route manager just to be in charge of that. If there's any complaint, they get the call. We give the numbers to the city council. If there's no way the resident can reach the front desk, at least the city councils can reach these 3 folks, then they can take action to make sure the resident gets service. So all these are new in Kansas City because we're actually new in Kansas City. So we've modeled this in other cities, other states. It's working out good. So we are moving them down here. That's why you see we have new management in place coming in to restructure everything. And it's been 2-3 months with the restructuring, and we've seen changes so far. And we can assure you it's going to keep improving.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have heard from the 2 companies, and we've had good questions and good discussion. I think we've reached a point where I think we're ready to finally make a decision here on which path we'd like to take. So at this point, I open up if anybody wants to make a motion.
Make a motion to go with that department.
Municipal waste?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson to accept the bid for municipal waste.
I second that.
I'm assuming that you mean to authorize the city manager and I to try to negotiate. Right.
To do what you're supposed to do.
There we go.
To do your job.
Okay, so I have a second now from Alderman Long. Is there any further discussion before we have a vote? Any issue with having a roll call vote, just to make sure, or?
No, I think you can do it either way.
Just to make it easy, let's do a roll call.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Nay.
Alderman Donovan,
Aye.
and Alderman Belton.
Aye.
All right, so we will be moving forward. You all can be in touch with municipal waste to start working on the contract, and then at some point that will come back to the board.
And I would encourage Alderman Goldman has sent some comments to me already. Thank you. With respect to some issues that she would like to see addressed. If anyone else has any, on the board, has any issues they'd like to see us consider for the agreement, please forward them to Happy and myself so that we can talk about, how we get this structured. The more information we have up front, the easier it is.
Well, I'd like to thank both companies for coming tonight. WCA, that at some point this contract will be rebid. We hope to see you again in the future and have this discussion again. So anyway, I thank everybody for the time. At this time, we're going to move on to item C. This is the Eastern Hills lien. This was actually something brought to my attention by Mr. Pat Flanner had called asking about this. He's unavailable. Kevin Anderson's here this evening, and I'll let him get up and kind of tell the tale here of how this got to us. And just so everybody knows, I had not invited them to the committee meeting that we had that brought this up, simply to discuss what this was and kind of bring it up. And then I want to be sure everybody on the board got to hear what he had to say. So sorry for your wait.
Thank you, Mayor, appreciate that. One more waste issue before the evening's done.
Please, no, Kevin.
This is an issue about a lien that was filed on a lot in Eastern Hills. I represent the owner of the lot, it's a vacant lot, who's got a contract to sell it, and during the process, title report showed a lien had been filed in the city of Harrisonville 9 years ago on this lot. And I remember at the time when the subdivision was first developed, when this issue first came up, and I can give you the best recollection I have. It's been 9 years ago. But at the time, there were some tree stumps and brush that was left on the lot that the plumbing contractor was supposed to remove. And there may have been some delay in him removing it. And there were some discussions with the city, we're getting it removed, we're having it removed. And then the next thing we know, it had been removed, and we got a bill from the city for like $2,900. No further notice, no other discussion. At that time, there was discussions with the city, and we were told unequivocally, no, you don't know it, it's done, don't worry about it. Was not even aware at the time the lien had been filed. Have now discovered it. The person that was in charge of the codes office at the time, who was speaking of the dead, he's not here. He's not with us anymore. And virtually the entire administration is not here anymore. But all I can tell you, it's my own recollection, and I can't tell you dates, and I can't tell you individuals, I can just tell you unequivocally, we were told, you don't owe the bill, don't worry about it. And now, here we are, fast forward 9 years later, we find out there's a lien that's been filed. So my purpose of being here is to ask the council to waive that lien. It was something that was supposed to be done by the plumbing and sewer and water contractor out there. He hadn't gotten it done yet. It was in a vacant lot, far corner of the subdivision, hundreds of feet away from any houses. Honestly, don't even know why it's an issue. I just don't. But for whatever reason it was at the time, and it was removed again without any real notice. And discussions were had at that time. We were told repeatedly, you don't know it, just take care of it, and take care of it. That's all I can tell you.
I have a couple of questions that come to mind. One is, typically when there's a lien placed of any kind, it's got to be recorded, recorder deeds. Do they not notify you when you would have received the notice that there was a lien placed on the property? I mean, is it,
the recorder deeds would not, no.
They would not, okay, I just wanted to be sure that was, and as far as would somebody that was, the owners at the time, would they have not been looking for, I guess they assumed the lien was never placed on it, or, because I'm thinking if it was lifted, you would think, okay, there should be a lien release letter or an expungement letter or something to that extent.
Right. To our knowledge, all there was a bill.
Okay, it had not actually been taken to the, okay.
No.
Okay. I did get contacted by a gentleman that lives out there. He's on their HOA board, and he wanted to comment that he remembers when this took place, and that he said his comment was that the stumps that you mentioned, whatever was removed, came from more than just one lot. It wasn't like it was all on that one lot piled up. So what he couldn't understand is why wasn't a lien placed on all the remaining undeveloped lots, whatever, however you would do it, divide it out. I don't know. I don't have an answer to. I wasn't in office, staff, I don't think that was working it at that time. So that's kind of to me, that was a good question, is you have one lot that wants to be sold, but it wasn't necessarily that one lot that had that's just where it was piled, so.
And that is correct. What was there was not just from that lot, but it was a small, these are not big lots.
No.
It's a small enough amount, it was all on one lot, and that's where it was removed from, and that's where the apparent lien was filed. That's correct.
Who in the city was telling you not to worry about it?
The mayor at the time, and I don't know, it was through Pat, so I can't tell you, I didn't have the personal conversations, but that's what I've been told.
Who is currently the owner down there who owns I know the lots used to have multiple owners. Who's the actual owner now?
It's an individual named Bill Well.
Okay.
And it didn't transfer from you to him?
No. It was, it came through us to him. It actually was owned by the bank for a period of time,
And I'd have to chart out for you all the various changes, but yes, that's how it
The
goes.
only thing that piqued my interest is why nobody, if it changed hands somewhere, that the lien wasn't shown.
Nobody checked.
I mean, that's just one of my things.
I just thought it usually popped up.
Yeah,
Tried
I
to
thought that
transfer
lien
it.
or,
I mean,
Yeah.
so how's the title, I mean, right now, the title, I mean, how is it, is it, because the guarantee is still Eastern Hills Development, that it applies to that? I mean, I guess, I'm thinking on the title somewhere, did it not change ownerships going from the bank back to whoever this gentleman is? I mean, I would think the titles had to have been adjusted. I mean, I'm not a real estate person, so I can't answer that, so.
Generally, unless there's a title commitment or what they call an ownership and encumbrance report requested, then it would show up. But if it changes hands without a title policy or a title report, then you might not see it.
And that's exactly
Any questions from board members?
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry?
If we move this lien or the fees for the lien, what about the other outstanding ones? You know, any repercussions?
Oh, other people that have
Yeah, I
liens?
mean, the liens throughout the city.
I mean, you
I mean,
do,
the people come up and say, oh, I didn't know I had a lien either.
you do run the risk of setting a precedence
I
that,
mean,
yes.
why don't we make a statement? Why don't we get him, if you and Andy can work out some kind of financial rate that we bring it back to the board?
Just kind of things
I
to
mean,
figure
so we
out.
don't have
Explain.
money. Okay, well, the thing of it is, I'm afraid to waive it for just what you decided. Not that I don't believe your story. But maybe if there's some way we can reduce
Well,
the amount of the lien. Since it's been a long time and.
Now, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay, the suggestion I would make is, I mean, basically here we're the creditor because we're looking to collect on this. And I assume there's somebody, the way I understood it, somebody's looking to buy this lot right now.
There is some urgency of
So-
the entire lots. This is the one
So
that people want to buy.
it's one of these that, you know, who knows that's been sitting there without any activity. A lot of times creditors say, you know what, you pay whatever on the dollar, say half of what you owe within a certain time period. And we'll reduce it for that time period if it's paid during that time period. I mean, you're not relieving the whole debt, you're relieving part of it, which, I mean, in this case, we don't have, all we have really is the lien. We don't have any documentation on you know, staff, like a letter received or anything like that to follow up on. So that would be my suggestion, if somebody was, if there was interest in that, that doesn't get rid of it altogether, but it does, I mean, if you did it half, it would be, instead of $29.43, it'd be $14.21 and some change.
So, is this?
Alderman Turner had a question.
Is this one of the 13s then? I mean, it says the city has 13 outstanding, so is this one of them? Or
I assume there's-
Yes. 13 of them?
Yeah, so there'd be 12 remaining.
And so, and this is classified as one of the mowings, I guess?
Essentially, yeah, yard, yeah.
Maybe we ought to flip for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
What do you think, Brent?
Don't like it. I don't see anything, you mentioned these other liens, but I don't have my paperwork. All I got is 3 pages.
13.
It's in the staff report. I wrote it in the staff report.
Where's that at?
It's on the main page that says Board of Aldermen, it's page, second, yeah.
Back at page
21.
21, it says the city has 13 outstanding, 9 mowing and 4 utility, and 7 abatement bills due on various properties throughout the city. Abatements paid by property owners to the city since 2008. 2008 there was 29, 09 there's 38, and it goes on down the line. So that shows the others, and what, the reason I could suggest is reducing it is if you waive it, then somebody comes up here that you may say the precedent is that if I, and I'm not saying I don't believe the story on that, I'm just saying anybody could take that route, follow the lead. And so
Is that an acceptable option? Is that an acceptable option? Oh, now the lawyer comes out.
That's what it sounds like, right?
Knew this would happen. Can you do better?
What happened to Sherwood?
Clint, this is your arena now, you're the one that
I
deals.
just got to saying, we flipped for it. You should have jumped on that one.
I just made my suggestion, I'm willing to listen to.
Mowing and utilities, you know, if you don't mow your yard, they mow it, I mean, you can't get out of that. Abatements on bills, I guess that's what, water bill that didn't get paid?
No, this is probably an abatement, not a mowing, because removal of brush is gonna be abating whatever issues left there.
Okay.
Abatements, what are those abatements?
It could be boarding up of windows, cleaning off of lots, getting rid of trash and debris.
Well, he tried to work it out, they tried to work it out.
I know.
Thought they had it worked out. Where these others probably just walked away from the bill or didn't know or whatever, so. I don't see how this situation is the same as these others. I don't know how it would set a precedent.
Okay, well, there's 7 abatements. This is one of them. So yeah, 6 other abatements.
Did the other try to get a hold of him and work
We
it
don't
out
have any
before?
information.
We don't know anything about it. What we're saying is after seeing this, somebody could come back and say, hey, I have no idea what the former mayor told anybody. I'm not gonna speak for him. I mean, he could have had the conversation, he could have not had the conversation. I'm not about to, you know, but he very well could have had the conversation and realized, oh, this isn't something that I can just say, you know, it's done. And you know, with me, the question was brought to me, I brought it to Happy, and we're like, we need to talk to the board. So maybe that's what he found out, and he said, yeah, it wouldn't be a problem, and that's what happened. I don't know, I can't speak for, you know, somebody else, so. It is something left over that is coming back to us, and so here we are. What would we like to do with it?
I think the past people abuse because they so much, and this is one of them. I had something very similar to this happen to me. And if anything.
Brad, can you use the mic, please?
If anything, we're setting a precedence that if you've been abused by the prior people, that will help you fix it. It seems to me like that's the precedence we're setting.
Well, I think reducing it, I mean, you're not, again, we're not totally giving everything back, but we're reducing it, saying, hey, you know, especially on one, you know, some of these get older, like I said, the likelihood you collect on a debt, the older it gets, the likelihood of collection goes down. And I guess on a property, I mean, it eventually could change hands and we'll get our money, but, I mean, my thought on this is you have somebody interested in the lot. We don't have a lot of people buying lots and building. That's one that it would be nice to see that development going again. So my reasoning is if we can get this, make a reasonable offer to settle it, so they can close, whoever's selling can close the deal, we can get them in the house.
I would agree with that 100%. They knew for sure that they owed the money and just wanted to negotiate it down.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to suggest that I do think that there is potential for precedent setting. Now, sometimes cities will look at past due liens or whatever, and maybe you could offer a general offer to all those that owe money to the city that they pay a certain percentage. But I think whatever you do with this gentleman, you'll certainly have others, rightly or wrongly, to suggest that they should be treated the same. If you do so, or if you would go down that road, I would suggest you set a time limit as to how soon it should be paid in order to take advantage of the reduction. And if you're going to apply that to the others, that you give them a similar time frame. So for example, if you were going to reduce it and say that it needs to be paid when the lot sells within 60 days, then you could look at the other abatements and notify them that they have 60 days, and if they don't take advantage of it, then it stays where it is. And maybe you clean up a bunch of liens all at once, but if you waive it entirely, I think you'll see the others, rightly or wrongly, but I think there's a middle ground that you can work it out so that you stop this from being like at every meeting event where someone's trying to do this for years to come.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, but it seems like this is a separate situation. To me, it doesn't seem like you're comparing apples to apples.
And that's the board's decision. I was just trying to give you an idea of one possible way to look at it and maybe address it.
I would say, because we don't know, and we're not saying that this is an abuse of power or anything like that, because I think this is just one of those things that went on so long, nobody even knows an answer to anymore. So in the good nature of the board, I agree with Brian, let's get some building going. Tell Pat to suck up a little bit of his own money when he sells this property, and how about that half?
If that's the will of the board, I will take that to the owner.
But you had made a motion.
Yeah,
You
I'll
said
make a
something.
motion that we do half of it, waive half of it.
So instead of the,
What you would say.
29.
right, it would now be the 14, that'd be 14 and 21 is what I said.
My motion.
Now we're gonna set a time limit on that.
Well,
About 60 days?
well, hold on.
Well, he's still working on the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
The time,
Well,
if
so time
you
will
want,
be 60
Okay.
days.
is 60 days, is that, I mean, for, okay, so 60 days.
Is it just this one, or is that all the amendments?
Well, I'm waiting, what's your motion? Is it just for this particular?
It's just for.
Okay, all right, so Mr. Dickerson's motion is to reduce this to half of the original lien price, and they have 60 days for this to be paid, and otherwise it goes back to the original.
And only if we.
And it applies to this lien only. All right, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Long. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, you have cut it in half, so. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
You bet. All right, moving on. Next item is Council Bill 057.
Council Bill 057, a resolution declaring a waiver of fees associated with building permits required to repair homes and businesses affected by floodwater of July 2017.
Okay, this was an item, I know in your notes, it has brought by Alderman Bowman and myself. However, this was Alderman Bowman's idea. I thought it was a great idea, which I was telling her before the meeting that I always ponder how can we help people more and more, and with the flood, everybody's wondering what can the city's part be, and this was a great idea for the city to be able to do something to help these people. So that's why we brought it forward, and I'm very supportive of this. I think it's a great idea. So if you all want to discuss it, or if you want to make a motion.
I make a motion to move forward with
I have a motion from Alderman Milner,
Second.
a second from Alderman Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
this. Aye.
Opposed? Council Bill 057 becomes Resolution R034.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm not against your board.
No, you're welcome.
But have some of those people already paid fees?
Not yet, they haven't had the damages that were required of the particular building program.
But there probably will be some coming, so, I mean,
So those will just be refunded?
well, no, there's been none paid so far.
Okay.
So any going forward, they'll get their permit, but there'll be no charge.
Okay, super.
All
Thank
right,
you.
very good. All right. Okay, Council Bill 058.
Council Bill 058, a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of Harrison, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator and city attorney to negotiate and the city administrator to sign a school resource office agreement with the Harrison Cass R9 school district.
Tell him where we were.
Make sure you get the bill in there, so we're very touchy.
Didn't I say maybe I did?
Yeah, that's right. Council Bill 058, we will move the vote on this till after our closed session. We need to get a legal update before the actual vote, so we will come back to this after closed session to have a vote, yes. So unless somebody is opposed to that, we will move on to Council Bill 059. All right, Council Bill 059.
Council Bill 059, a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of Harrisonville, Missouri, to authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract with All Natural Cleaning Service for janitorial services at City Hall and the Police Department.
All right.
Bids went out for cleaning services. We looked at the three bids that came in. The low bid of All Natural Cleaning Service, $275 per week is the recommendation from staff. All Service currently does All Natural does the police department. So there's no issues with them being able to pass FBI background checks and background checks for the city.
All right, any questions?
You guys think they do a great job?
I believe it's a local person too, so. Any comments? Seeing none, I entertain a motion. I have a motion from Alderman Miller.
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Bowman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 059 becomes Resolution R035. Council Bill 060.
Council Bill 060, resolution of the Board of Aldermen authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Guaranteed Roofing, Inc. to replace the roof at City Hall in an amount not to exceed $83,640.00.
Go ahead.
We went out for bids to replace the roof of City Hall. That is a budget item that the board approved. Specifications were published. We had the 4 bids that came in. Guaranteed Roofing had the low bid of $83,640. City budgeted $79,739. We received $38,924.91 in insurance money, so we have enough to cover this. We've checked the low bid with the Secretary of State to make sure they're a business in good standing. We checked several references; they all came back positive, so we recommend the low bid.
All right, any questions or comments? So, motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 060 will become Resolution R036. Council Bill 061.
Council Bill 061, first reading, an ordinance levying a tax for the current expense of the city of Harrisonville, Missouri, on real property and all tangible personal property of whatsoever nature and character, subject to taxation by the city of Harrisonville for such purposes, also levying a special tax upon the afore described properties for public parks, for a total tax levy of 0.6658.
Good evening, Marcella.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. This is an exercise that we do every year. The county does all of our assessments and collects all of our taxes for us. So the assessments are sent to the state auditor's office. The state auditor's office does the calculation that was presented in your packet, setting that levy. There's 2 different numbers there because we had chosen not to raise the levy last year. So there was a number said that if you hadn't rolled it back, you could have, assessed a larger, a number even less than what, still less than what it was last year. So this, this levy is a reduction of last year's levy, and based on the assessed values in the new construction, it's still a benefit for the city as an organization, but we'd recommend this first reading. The county clerk has asked us to have the documentation to him by August 30th to comply with state statutes, that it be presented back to the state by September 1st. I know last year we didn't make that because of the discussion that was taking place about how much the levy was, but I would highly encourage that at this point. I would be happy to answer any questions. The numbers are what they are. I can't change them. I can't make them different, so.
I think anytime there's a increase, that's a positive. I think that's a positive indicator for your area. So I know I was excited to see it finally reverse course a little bit. So.
Right. Your personal property is still coming down, and to be quite honest, I don't know exactly why, other than the fact that I don't know that we're all real diligent about making sure that we pay our personal property or even send the little assessment forms in on a timely manner on the personal property. And some of the rules have changed on the personal property too, so you don't have to claim that anymore. Some of our businesses don't have to claim that personal property anymore, so.
All right, any questions for Marcella? Any comments?
This is lower.
Yes, it's lower than it was last year.
The county property tax went up.
That's the county.
So when it comes to.
We're not the county.
Like, make sure you keep your microphone if you can comment.
This may be a totally stupid question, but obviously.
We allow those.
You said that because of the talk.
That's okay.
That's all right. Anyways, so, when it's all said and done, like I said, this may be a stupid question, but like my sales tax is .785. With the county that was passed and all that, what will our new sales tax rate be?
This is actually on property.
Oh,
This is-
that's right.
Yeah, this is the
Okay,
property
yeah, I'm
tax
right
credit.
then.
Yep,
That's why I
that's all
said
right.
it was a stupid question.
That's all right. It's easy to confuse them,
It's
so.
just a
Stupid question. I'm brain dead.
All
You
right,
just had to say it out loud for it to receive.
all right.
Had to prove it.
Have we moved this to a second reading?
I was gonna entertain a motion to suspend the ruling unless anybody had an objection to it. Move this to a
I make
second.
that motion.
All right, a motion from Alderman Dickerson.
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Milner. Any further discussion?
I withdraw my retarded statement.
Okay, we're good with that. All right, Mr. Clerk, we'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman,
Aye.
Alderman Milner,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Bachman.
Aye.
All right, second reading, please.
Council Bill 061, second reading, an ordinance levying a tax for the current expense of the city of Harrisonville, Missouri upon real property and all tangible personal property of whatsoever nature and character subject to taxation by the city of Harrisonville for such purposes. Also levying a special tax upon the aforedescribed properties for public works for a total tax levy of 0.6658.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman,
Aye.
Alderman Milner,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Bachman,
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
All right, and Council Bill 061 will become ordinance 03413. Finally, we are at Council Bill 062.
Council Bill 062, first reading, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen, Harrison, Missouri, repealing...
Oh,
I'm just saying it fast. Harrisonville, Missouri, repealing section 225.120 of the city code and enacting in lieu thereof a new section 225.120 to permit the Harrisonville Parks Board and/or its director to suspend, forfeit, cancel, revoke any park or community center license or privileges indefinitely for good cause.
Can I get a shock button installed for his chair, please? Mr. Deal.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the board. As stated in your memo, the current city code under Parks and Recreation regarding suspension of privileges is for a period not to exceed 1 year after the violation. In a review of other area cities, most Parks and Recreation departments' disciplinary action is covered through an in-house policy and is not under a city code or ordinance. However, but since there is a city code for our city in this subject area, the park board and staff are requesting this amendment. As the amendment reads, the Park and Recreation Board and/or Parks Recreation Director may suspend, forfeit, cancel, or revoke any license or privileges to be terminated immediately or in certain cases indefinitely. The Park Board unanimously recommends this amendment to the city code, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Deal this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I would suggest, and I talked to Happy about this, rather than having it more specific, because he's right, you don't necessarily see this actually put in the code this strong, but I would recommend that the Parks Board come up with a policy or some sort of standard. Since I suggested we add for good cause, shown because initially it did not contain that, and a statute in order to be enforced can't be vague, constitutionally vague. The perpetrator has to understand what they can do that violates the standard. So, assuming that this is passed by the board, I would recommend that the Parks Board then develop a policy so what types of offense would result in an indefinite suspension, what type might be months or days or weeks, or if there's some types that, for example, maybe it's a payment of fees or something that they could be suspended temporarily until the offense is cleared up. The other thing I would say is that when I was rewriting this, I made a typographical error in the second whereas. The word through it appointed should be its. So I would suggest that, I don't think it really substantially changes, but we might as well clean it up.
Sound good to you guys?
I don't, I'll be honest, I don't really understand what you're asking or stating.
I'm suggesting that the Parks Board or this council, rather than have an indefinite standard, which this is still somewhat indefinite, I mean, it's saying for good cause could be interpreted by a court of law to be a reasonableness standard, but I would suggest that it would be easier if the Parks Board came up with a policy of under what circumstances, for example, that someone would be indefinitely suspended.
So are you saying we can go ahead and vote
Yes.
on this to accept their proposal to give them that, and then you would ask them to come up with maybe
They
a
can
clear
take-
definition?
Yes, they could come up with a policy that would list, give examples of the types of offenses that might result in indefinite suspension and something that might result in less than that.
You're kind of wanting like specific things, like if a patron came in and had been drinking, or if a patron came in and was abusing someone, or if a patron
Well,
didn't pay their
yes.
bills, or
As
whatever.
I put in the whereas clause, if someone threatens or endangers, or there is a danger to an employee or another patron, if something like that, that would be the type of thing that would certainly justify a potential indefinite suspension. But I think it would be better to put it, as in our auditor report, is we need to have more policies about how we're implementing things like this.
Yeah, I mean, we have a policy in place on, I mean, if they get, but it's limited to a year, right? And then more than that, or whatever, that has to go to the park board. And they're trying to get away from that and leave it up to the park and rec director to extend it past the 1 year. Because, I mean, because by ordinance, it's only 1 year.
And if I understand it, he can do that, they just have to have it documented, you know, we can discuss it in park board, these are the reasons why Mr. Deal would say, okay,
Right.
you hit these criteria, you have been reported as using foul language with the employees or whatever, you know, on 3 occasions. You mentioned something about it, like a 3-strike rule or something in Liberty or one of your other.
I just give you an example of all the cities that I called, and those are all, you know, Belton, Liberty, Grandview, all of them. None of them have an ordinance. The reason this came forward is because we have an ordinance, the park board was held to 1 year. So that's why indefinitely has come up. In regards to policies and procedures, in the cities that I have been in, we have rules and guidelines are established. Even Harrisonville, for the Parks and Recreation, has it right now. It says you can't use profanity, stuff like that. It's usually on a case-by-case basis, whether someone is suspended for, you know, a year or someone indefinitely. Threatening staff, physically threatening staff, repeatedly is usually indefinitely. And I have 2 examples from other cities that do exactly that, which just so happens to be the case here. And so that's why the indefinitely is something that was brought forward. And we can certainly establish in-house policies and guidelines to do. The Parks and Recreation Board said they wanted that to be something that staff is able to do. And we could certainly establish those policies.
So basically, by passing this, we're kind of, I mean, the park board brought it to us because they were limited by the ordinance. By passing this, we're now handing the ball back to them, saying, okay, you all may now make your policy, and unless, you know, we.
Right, and it could be just that you're updating what the current guidelines that they have, but those guidelines, as you said, were established when you had 1 year.
Right, I mean, we're just changing this ordinance to basically allow them to implement their.
Right, but they should probably update their policy to take account for this change.
Probably, but I mean, right now, they're limited to 1 year, and so by us changing this, they can develop their own policy.
It doesn't have to be very complex. It just needs to address the fact that we've had a change in the ordinance, so how do we implement that?
Right.
Any further comments or questions?
Would the change also be communicated in membership applications, or somehow would the public understand that they may have their membership terminated for whatever reason? Is it in there now?
It is in there now, but it's not to the point, I think, that we could extend it a little bit as the attorney is speaking to. And I think we would definitely do that in education for our people.
Yes, I think the patrons need to know that.
Yeah, it should be part of their membership packet, that these are the policies, these are the types of things that could get your membership terminated or indefinitely suspended, or, you know, you could put some language in there just so that they know and they sign off, and I think the city's covered.
All right.
I make a motion, we move to the second reading on this.
I would, with the change from its to its.
Yep.
All right. I have a motion from Alderman Milner, and I have a second from Alderman Reese to move Council Bill 062 to a second reading. Any further discussion? I'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman, Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Bachman, Alderman Miller.
Aye.
All right. Second reading, please.
Council Bill 062 as amended, second reading, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of Harrisonville, Missouri, repealing section 225.120 of the city code and enacting in lieu thereof a new section 225.120 to permit the Harrisonville Parks Board and/or its director to suspend, forfeit, cancel, or revoke any park or community center license or privileges indefinitely for good cause.
All right. Roll call again, please.
Alderman Bachman, Alderman Bowman, Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
And Council Bill 062 will become ordinance 03414. Thank you. Alderman and committee reports. Alderman Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I would like to just say thank you to you for working with me on the waiver of the building permits for the flood victims. You know, it was a sudden, unexpected rain, and a lot of people got caught off guard, and a lot of people suffered loss, so I appreciate the work.
It was a great idea. I appreciate you bringing it.
I'm sorry that Mr. Foster stepped out, because I did want to publicly thank him and Mr. Whistle for donating the concrete and the labor to build the pad for the kennel for the canine. That was a great gesture, and I really appreciate their service and the contribution. And the last thing is, I'd like to ask for an update. At the July meeting, I talked to you about a constituent that had contacted me regarding the cutoff date for utility bills. And the constituent had asked that both times be consistent and be 5 p.m. In that meeting, you suggested that be referred to the Finance Committee. And I haven't seen a meeting posted of the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, nothing on the city's website. Has there been a meeting scheduled to discuss this?
We have not scheduled. I think we have a couple other items that are in need of finance, and so I would assume in September we'll be scheduling one. Usually one item, you know, we can get to it, but we try to get a few wound up.
Because I think the constituent would like to attend that committee meeting,
Okay.
so if I can let her know that
You
it'll
bet.
be in
It'll-
September.
Mhm.
Do you feel fairly confident that it will be in September?
We can get our purchasing policy done by them as part of the audit. I'd like to have the finance committee look at that.
If you have it late September, we could shoot for that, you think?
Can we do that, and put them together?
Okay. All right, very good. All right, thank you very much. Alderman Bachman. Alderman Reese.
Yes, I would like to remind everyone that September the 9th is town hall meeting. It's going to be a real good one. That's coming from the regional hospital. I never know exactly what to call it. Our Harrisonville Hospital, that's regional. They're coming to do a program, and they're going to do an overview of all the services that are available through the hospital. And of course, they're getting more and more all the time, and sometimes we're not totally aware of. A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff going on out there. And then they're gonna go on to specifically talk about, they have some simulators out there, different kinds of simulators. And the one that they're going to zero in on is the pediatric simulator. And it's a great piece of equipment, they're going to demonstrate it, we can all get real close to see what's going on. And a lot of these things have been done by donations from the public, and so, come on out.
I have to say, their new MRI machine is fantastic. It's leaps and bounds beyond the old one, so.
You don't have to go out into the trailer.
No, and you don't feel like you are going to, I'm not claustrophobic, but boy, that old one made me feel that way, so. Alderman Miller?
We had the eclipse today and all the kiddos, the school district bought glasses for all the staff and children and invited parents in to help participate in. I'm telling you what, they had a ball. Some of them made, the little people, they had masks to where there's no possibility they could look out past their glasses, so there are lots of good pictures out there. It was a good day.
Mr. Dickerson? Mr. Long?
I myself enjoyed the eclipse. I used a welding helmet. My wife took a picture through the welding helmet, and it was actually a really neat picture because it showed Mars underneath of it or whatever. I know it sounds a little dorky, but it was pretty cool.
Jerry Forster did the same thing.
Exactly. I mean, you could realize, I mean, it's a good picture. There's two pictures. One of them, it looks like it's an actual star the way, I don't know what it was, whatever, it glowed green. From the, I guess probably because of the welding glass. But the town was like completely, I've never seen it that quiet. I mean, it was just like.
I guess we had dogs barking in our neighborhood.
I had some customers, but it was like no cars were driving by in front of the shop. It was just like, it was kind of an eerie feeling. It just started getting dark. It was just like, I don't know. I'll shut up now. I said enough of dark stuff. So. Go ahead, Matt, it's your turn.
Alderman Turner, anything?
Nothing.
All right. Mr. Welch?
Just real quickly, Harrisonville Villas has primary electric now, and we're starting to connect the secondary, so they should have their electric and temporary occupancies this week. So folks that they've had living in hotels will be able to move in shortly. Also, it was requested that I bring up a state audit compliance schedule. You take one and pass it on.
Take one down and pass it on.
Yep. So that's tentative at best, but we are working towards the goals that are listed on there. Most of the stuff is ongoing because we have to follow what the recommendations are. So we're just doing that as a basic policy. I've had a chance to talk to the mayor and with the attorney and with Marcella. We've already gone over what we've looked at, and I think we've got a good schedule. That's it.
Good.
Is this public information?
Yeah. I need to post it.
That'd be great. All right. Well, I just have two things I'll speak on since we've run late. I also watched the eclipse, and while watching it, I kind of had a thought to myself. I thought, what a better timing to have an eclipse than right now with all the craziness we have going on in our country and our world. I think it's a rare time when I think the majority of the people around the world were focused on the same thing and had the same view and opinion, and I think that is fantastic that, you know, like I said, good timing to bring people together. The other thing I want to mention is, you know, I sat here and listened to comments tonight. We had some pretty, you know, the trash thing was a very touchy subject with a lot of people. This board did a great job of having good discussion, asking good questions, and I was very proud to be up here tonight with the way this went. So I'm giving my applause to the board for a great meeting and great job. And that's all I have tonight.
I move that the Board of Aldermen go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the revised statutes of Missouri. Section 610.021 to discuss legal actions and any confidential or privileged communication between the city and the attorney.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Milner. We need a roll call, please.
Alderman Nolan. Alderman Bachman. Alderman Reese. Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson. Alderman Long.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Right, and we are adjourned to executive. When we come out, please make sure we resume our seats, because we will likely be voting on this contract unless something comes up.